logged on.
Oh, well, we'll get it back. It'll be okay.
Not cool, production team. Not cool. Hey, whoever can hear me. Aaron will be doing play.
Good morning. It's Championship Monday in this Youth Club Championship division of the 2019 U.S. Open Tournament here in Blaine, Minnesota at the National Sports Center. My name is Erin Maraca. I'm here with Tony Leonardo. And before we get to all the placement games today, the first thing we need to do is get through this fifth place semifinal matchup between the Vermont Equinox team and the team out of Lexington, Kentucky, Pi Plus. Tony, we talked to coaches on both sides before the game. Can you give the viewers a little bit of a heads up of what we might be seeing in this matchup?
Well, you saw the pretty jazzed up Pi Plus team right there in their huddle, and they are now doing a national anthem to the flag that they brought along with their Pi Plus flag, as you can see underneath the American flag right there as they put their hands to their chest. So we'll let them have a moment there, and we'll be back in just a second. Oh, and looks like as you see the Equinox team from Vermont, thank you from Pi Plus and their anthem. Here's Equinox getting cheered up from Montpelier, Vermont. Of course, the news this year from Vermont, pretty excited about it. This was the first season of varsity in that state, spring 2019. We talked to their coach, Mish, and she told us that, you know, pretty much the same thing for most of these players here, not too much of a change of difference, except that now they get some access to field space. They're on par with the other sports, and that's always something you want to see in our sport.
Yeah, that's the fifth place bracket. It sounds like Vermont and ready to play some more ultimate. Right now, the temperatures here in our hyper-localized weather center, a little bit cooler, a little bit more overcast. We may be expecting a little bit more weather today, but we're not going to talk about it. I'm very
We're not going to
I'm very superstitious about it. So we have prepared and done all of the things to control what we can control right now, and we're really excited to watch these kids play the first round of the day.
Looking at Equinox there, we saw Pi Plus earlier. Pi Plus being a homeschool team, mostly 2/3 of the players there are based on the Pi team, and they do love math. They have a little designation. I saw a scorekeeper, probably a mom on the sideline there with her shirt with looked like a rat wearing a Pirates outfit, and they were the Pirates. And with the 3.214, 98764, whatever that Pi number goes all the way. As we look at Pi Plus here, ready to pull the Lexington plus Cincinnati, mostly homeschool kids, and the pool is up to start this fifth place semi.
That's a nice pull there from number 5, Joshua Wu, and Vermont will begin the day on offense. Looks like Pi is in a little bit of a zone look, sitting in lanes. We're working through elms right now, and Maya Standard. Expect to hear a lot from some of these handler names on the Vermont squad. Back to Standard. Looks like the Vermont names are on the back of the jerseys as I get used to some of these names. Shenholm on that far sideline will be attending Carleton College next year. Working with Scopatone and Standard in the backfield.
Downwind here. You can really feel the wind pick up here in the booth. Could be kind of, and you know, every now and then we'll get a shot of that flag, and you can tell pretty quickly right there which direction the wind is going and sort of its intensity. Pretty
helpful for context, a flag.
Yeah. It's like sailing.
And a shot taken.
Whoa.
A bid in the back from Hayden Elms, thrown by Shenholm, and that is a clean hold by Vermont to start this championship Monday.
Nice dig from Elms, goes down on that sideline there and picks it up. You know, the difficulty of the downwind, of course, is that the disc will come in hot, and if it's either, the wind can either, of course, kind of pick it up or push it down, as that we saw there. So the wind pushes it, gives it a little bit of oomph, and Elms able to stay with it pretty good there and collect it for the first score of the game.
When we talked to Mish from Vermont ahead of the game, she mentioned that we might be able to see some really tight person defense, and that kind of pride in that type of defense was part of their identity here on the Vermont team. So I think that may or may not change depending on the wind conditions, but certainly something that we can keep an eye on. A reminder to folks at home that this is the U-20 mixed division of YCC, which means that the gender ratio on the line every time is 3-4 or 4-3, and the end zone to our left appears to be the gender end zone. We saw Coach Mish make the signal,
Mish right there,
you know, above
Michelle
her
Steele.
head to indicate that Vermont is going 4 women on this point, and 3 men.
Well, this is interesting because Pi told us that one thing that teams noted about them is they like to have a dominator girls set. So they're like, yeah, we'll run all 3 of our girls in a dominator all the way down the field. Well, now they've got a 4th, so look for that right here downwind as well. We might see the girls handling. Instead, it's a mix of it as we have the tall man in the middle.
That was Luke Monin to start. There are technically 4 Monins as part of this program, including the coach. 3 siblings, 2 boys. This one, Luke, and a 12-year-old who is, I am not finding his name. There we go, Travis, who we'll see later, and their sister. They're not, there we go. Nope.
Yep, pretty awesome.
Rebecca, there we go.
Pretty cool to have, you know, your little brother, your 12-year-old little brother come out and join the squad. That's pretty awesome. So I like seeing that.
Yeah, Joshua Wu doing a lot of work in the backfield, and his throw downfield is pushed down by the wind, like you said it might be, and Vermont has 70 to go upwind.
All right, that looks like a call in the middle of the field here.
Yep, it looks like a pick call.
That's Rebecca Taylor going to Western Kentucky on the mark for Pi Plus.
And May Browning with the disc there in that stoppage. Out to Mason Palmer. I understand maybe playing through a little bit of sickness here. We hope that he feels good enough to continue for the rest of the game. This is Finley Clark working with May Browning. Despite the double coverage, able to pull down that up line. There is a poach in that upline space.
Yeah, the defender for Pi Plus, she got in there to try to make a play. Smartly did not obviously involve any body contact, and then completely bolted back downfield to get in position. You see her all the way down, so that's the way to do it, right? Go for that poach maybe. If you don't get it, get back into position. So I love that kind of hustle.
May Browning's look is two-bladed to be caught, and Pi will resume their offensive point back downwind. Here's a good shot of that flag to indicate to viewers at home what we're feeling here on our faces.
Luke Monin got in there from Pi Plus now with a disc. as he puts it deep. This looks like it's going to work.
And he finds Lula Dutil, and that is also a hold. Trading holds so far this morning.
Lula at 15 years old, out there on the starting O-line. So that's got to be a good sign for your squad when you've got one of your youngest players. And she was the one I was talking about earlier who made that run in to try to get a block in that space and then completely ran all the way back down to guard her defender in the deep space. Gets rewarded for that hustle with this goal right here.
Already both teams signaling that they will be going for women. The Lexington team coach just made the symbol above his head as well. I'm always excited when young mixed teams are able to successfully utilize all the personnel on their roster. I know sometimes that's a struggle. Most of these youth players play in that gender matching league in high school, so sometimes this is their first experience playing mixed.
That's not right. 5 miles an hour wind. Luke.
But that 81% humidity, that's real.
Correct.
That's very real.
So 5 is maybe not accounting for the gusts, perhaps.
Yeah, all the club players that went home yesterday probably looking at that weather bug, and 10 degrees or more cooler today already.
Make sure you text at us and heckle us on Twitter about how we're here and you're not.
Just a recap. I know we have a lot of folks watching invested in the YCC event today, but maybe you can give us the like 30-second recap. There was an International Club Championship portion of this tournament that concluded yesterday. Is there anything that the folks at home might want to know about that really briefly before we get back into this game?
Well, I'll tell you something real brief about it, which is this. Like, I just kind of made a joke about how these ICC club players have already left and gone home. Well, talking to Coach Daryl Stanley of Truck Stop yesterday, he said every year more and more players stay. So the adults, the club, and they got to go to work on Monday. This isn't like a free time off. They've already spent their time and money to come here for a 2-3 day tournament for them. As Elms rips this downfield, has an opening. Wow,
that's
what a shot!
Nice find. That's number 10, Keisha Bador. She'll be going to Vermont University. That was a visionary blade, but a really good choice in that downwind space.
That was a pretty good shot from Elms. Just to continue briefly, so, the club players are staying around to watch, and this is why you want to stay around to watch, because there's good action. This is some talented teams out here, and great to support the youth. So in the club division, of course, the International Club Championships, a lot of teams from Japan, Colombia, the Medellin Revolution, in a rematch against Brute Squad. Brute Squad takes it again, so they go 2-0 on the weekend against Revolution, and they win. Brute Squad Boston will take the title as they they defend their U.S. Open title. In the men's division, it was Pony Pride of New York, the defending United States national champions, against Seattle Sockeye, whom they had defeated in semis last year, and Sockeye takes that one clean. They did not they had 0 breaks.
Amazing.
On offense.
That's really
15 goals, no breaks.
Nice.
And in the mixed division, your team, Aaron, goes down 5-0. I don't know if it's your team, but you're on some special secret group me list with them.
I have been on that team. It is true.
Dragon Thrust goes down 5 to Seattle Mixtape, goes on an 11-2 run, and then Mixtape ties it up on a universe point. Henry Fan point blocks a huck. It's still caught by a Dragon Rust receiver, Dragon Thrust.
Dennecourt, yep.
Okay, no wonder. Dennecourt is pretty awesome. And guarded by Khalif El Salam, so Leaf's up there, Dennecourt's up there, Dennecourt gets it.
Goal combo between Brian Strings Schoenrock and Erica Bacon, because it's definitely a couple.
It's a thing, huh?
It's a thing where they win tournaments that way.
Wow, what a D there from number 26. That's Nadia Scopatone.
So I think what we're seeing right now is this 3-lady hand from Equinox. Seems to be working pretty well in the backfield. Oh, sorry. Here we have Schuster out to Luke Monin. And he'll go right back to Mike Schuster. And again, a downwind point, 2-1.
We've talked about it before. It's not really a game until someone breaks. We saw that Red Dawn versus Foggy Bottom boys yesterday in their quarterfinal matchup. A lot of downwind holds until a string of breaks kind of changed the tone of that game. Foggy Bottom boys takes half with a couple of them in that midpoint of the first, and then Red Dawn comes back and gets a couple breaks. That kind of was the story of the game, just those breaks between the first half and the second half. Similar upwind, downwind situation. So really we're going to see in this game a lot of our scores to the left of your frame, and you know, teams fighting to see who has the skill set and what the strategy is going upwind. Do you try to bomb it up there and hope you gonna get a tip disc that's gonna go your way? Sometimes that's a good strategy. So we'll see has the throwers to cut through the wind and to get it deep from both sides as they are all battling the wind here.
Well, I know that it's pretty early in the morning still in the Midwest, but maybe a little more advanced in the day on the East Coast. So if you're still drinking your coffee and you'd like to interact with Tony and myself over Twitter, we do have an open lane of communication there. Be interested to hear where you're logged in from and who you're cheering for in this 5th place semifinal matchup in the U-20 mixed division. Also be interested to hear any takes you have on the whole weekend, as it is the last day of coverage, and you know, a lot of really good ultimate has happened this weekend, and kind of fun to touch base there. But Tony and I will still be with you all day to talk through it, but reminder that we're available if you want to talk.
Wow, opportunity now for Pi Plus.
This is number 87, Julian Misla picking up, out to Enders, around to Wu.
See what their set is. Here's where you need those upwind throws.
A lot of speed there from number 8, Taylor.
Isolation here.
A lot of tight spaces, high stall, bail out. Nicely defended there. I think that was number 21, Mae Browning.
Yeah, they try to run an ISO to the front cone, well defended, and then she had someone behind her come up, also well defended. So no choice there, and she did the right choice, which is to just put it up and hope you get one.
Yeah, the handlers from Vermont working it well against this Pi zone. We have it out with Annalise Stitch out there. Maya Standard, Mae Browning.
Fire call, so now they're into person.
And we find Hayden Elms with a disc here towards us on this sideline. That's Bedore.
I'd like to find out, you know, there's one of the co-captains of the Snake Country team is a Bedore. They might be related.
Oh, here we go. Big look from Browning. And her pass, unfortunately, handled by Mason Palmer.
Oh, and we talked earlier about how he wasn't feeling so well. He's going to have to take one here.
Oh, maybe not.
I think he still might.
Okay. Not quite sure what happened there. Looked for a second like maybe he had dislocated a finger or something like that. That's what that kind of pain doubled over looked like to me, but figure out what happened. Here's Enders with the disc for Pi going upwind. Wu, a lot of touches so far this game, out to Misla. Back to Wu. Oh, and we'll get a big upwind shot. Intended target, 39, Linda Muse. And that is an upwind score to Rebecca Monin. So that's the first
Here we go.
break of the game. It's a game, Tony.
And, you know, it's just as simple as that. A beautiful shot from Browning downwind there. I can't believe she found that angle to hit her receiver perfectly to that away cone. It was a peculiar release point and a beautiful throw. Really nice touch. Unfortunately, her receiver, Mason, of course, battling that illness, unable to come up with it. And then in return, Monin and team get back and score this one upwind. And that is so far the story of this game early. So that's a big deal. As you see Browning's throw, look at that touch on that one right there. And Palmer just maybe looking down at the line. As we see number 5 there, Wu hit the upwinder. Hockey assist.
Yeah. In win games, you know, I feel like especially at the youth level, a lot of the poor throws that happen are more mental than anything else, right? When you think too hard about the spin on the disc or how hard you have to throw, sometimes the wind just makes it worse, kind of. And so the best thing that you can possibly do when you're throwing upwind is throw with confidence, with the same form you always throw, and just maybe think about throwing it a little bit further, right, or through a receiver rather than to a receiver, I think is a good cue there. And, Wu giving us all a look at his throwing kit so far. That was a really good in-motion upwind put with a lot of courage despite that upwind, and definitely worked out, had a nice shape to it.
Yeah, I find, and I don't always have success with this, in fact, probably I'm not so great as an upwind thrower, at least on the forehand side, that you have to have a little bit of faith and trust in the wind, because you're like, all right, well, the wind's going to do something with this disc, and I can't control it entirely. I'm just going to have faith that it's going to get to where it needs to go.
That was a pull from Philip Smith, and pretty deep into that downwind end zone, and Pi comes in with this zone again. Looks like a little bit of a two-person cup with a wall, or maybe maybe Lula is just a little bit far back in that three-person cup, and it's just a little bit of a stylistic choice. We'll see as it develops. Good handler movement so far from Vermont, though.
Yeah, Bean in there, Haley Bean, some nice plays.
Elms to Bean. Oh,
ooh.
Bean's pass. Hotly contested by DeTeal.
Yeah, a little bit behind Scopatone. And a chance for Pi to break down wind. This is kind of what you get, the 2-for-1. If you do manage to break up wind, oftentimes this will be your bonus point.
Taylor and Linda Muth. DeTeal.
I think we're going to be calling DeTeal's name for a long time as the 15-year-old out of the Lexington or Cincinnati area is a little bit of a gamer.
Playing with a confidence that exceeds her age, I think, right now. We'll also be calling the names Manin and Linda Muth a fair amount, but there are multiples of those players. There are 4 different sibling clusters on this Pi team. That Linda Muth throw to McCrae, a little bit too hot to handle there.
Picked up quickly by Vermont as they try to move it Equinox. This is an opportunity for them to get the upwinder back on a hold, but that will kind of count if they can convert it downwind.
Fisher Olvera around to Grace Valentine. Back through the handler set, and Elms sends that one back to Fisher Olvera, and that's an upwind goal.
Yeah, Elms put it on a dime. Love that shot there. Unafraid, in motion. Hayden Elms puts it up there, and Fisher Olvera comes down with it. Way to answer back. Boom, right off the bat. And again, the first break kind of starts the game, and now you see the pressure on Equinox. They respond right away, and now we've got some action going on here as they will now pull going downwind, trying to get a break out of Pi, and Pi will have to face the wind going upwind.
Certainly getting a break going downwind easier than getting a break going upwind. So perhaps a little bit of an important point here for Pi, and they signal that they will be going for women again. Appreciate the number of players kind of echoing that signal. Communication is important in these gender end zone conversations. So again, we explain this in the mixed division kind of every time we cover a game, because it is a bit of a new rule. But at the beginning of a game, when the two teams flip to decide the initial starting point and who's pulling, they also flip to determine what end zone is the gender end zone. And so it's kind of it's a new rule in the mixed division. It's been kind of evolving over the last few years. We're certainly not done talking about it, but this season, that gender end zone stays put the entire game, and whoever's in it gets to dictate the ratio.
So 4 girls out here for Pi Plus in the gender end zone. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. So you got to do that arrow again. This
Sorry. It is hard to remember sometimes, and as a person who is competing in the mixed adult division myself, you know, you
the
do
arrow's still there.
Yeah, you do
Nope,
your
there's
best to remember it, but you have to write it down. You have to write it down somewhere, and then you have to remember if it's your decision or not. So
nice pull there, because that pins them back.
Was an amazing pull along the last 2 inches of that end zone. Wu starting in the downfield as a cutter this point to help advance the disc. He'll take off. Let's see if they reward him. Luke Monin, looking for an IO. Look, Wu able to collect, and he'll find number 64, Matt Renault. Am I saying that right?
Renault. So that is a hold, but the reason it's so exciting is because that's an upwind point there, and that's where the drama is here. Wu smartly follows this disc. A little hot from Monin for his receiver. Number 2, that's Rebecca Monin, his sister. But Wu there, and Renault answers and makes the cut for that tip play. No chance for the defense there, and Wu straight in motion just puts it up nicely.
A lot of throwing talent on both these teams so far. Neither team struggling that much with the lateral movement or that kind of attacking into the wind movement so far. As we've kind of discussed over the course of this YCC tournament, the level of play in this U-20 division gets better and better every year. And despite the fact that this is Lexington, Kentucky's first year at the YCC tournament, and Vermont's second year in a row for the first time after kind of not having enough to compete in 2016 and 2017, just it looks like these 2 areas have quite a bit of talent already in their metro areas.
I want to say that I love the Pi Plus sideline. Like, we've got a lot of parents here on the sideline. If we'll get a shot of that eventually, we'll see the flags. They've got now 3 flags going on over there, 2 Pi Plus flags. There's Dutiel, of course, and with Wu with the disc. They got 2 flags. It seems like about half the team's parents are here. There they are, all cheering on Pi Plus, the homeschool, mostly homeschool contingent out of Lexington and Cincinnati, and they really brought it here. It's not like Minnesota's just like a car drive away. It's a little bit of a distance, so great to see that.
I have driven to Kentucky. It is a long drive.
Right.
I hope they flew. I really do. Vermont here again with a chance to go upwind against this Pi zone. Looks like Shenholm throwing off his throw kit, put that in a scuba fake a couple times in that first
Don't want to be trapped
hold.
in this corner, so they're going to have to move it a lot quicker and make a decision faster here, as that corner trap is not good look for Equinox.
That's Valentine with the disc around to Shenholm, and he'll go over the top to Hayden Elms. Hayden Elms with that through throw to Scopatone.
Well, he waited for that, and it looked a little risky, but it pays off as he's able to find Scopatone. And now they move pretty nicely. They've broken through a little bit here.
Oh, that was an offhand left hand through the cup. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Nice throw.
Keon to Scopatone, out to Elms. Elms, of course, able to fire upwind rather easily, and I imagine Shenholm as well.
Shenholm going to Carleton College. Kind of see why.
Valentine within striking distance on this upwind end zone, but Dutiel sinking in that poach space like we've seen her do a couple of occasions.
And now getting back on her defender deep again.
Keon. Good patience here, Scopatone.
Shenholm.
Elms.
Shenholm really star of that point now. We've had 3 straight upwinders now, maybe even 4. I've almost lost track, but good game here.
It is a good game. We talked about this yesterday too. Sometimes the downwind end zone is more difficult to score in. And right now, I think though the wind is in that 5 mile an hour kind of area, right? These two teams both just able to handle it, capable throwers all around, a lot of good patience, a lot of good spin, and not seem to having a trouble with it at all.
Yeah, I mean, if you can keep it low, keep the spin on the disc, so release it with a lot of Z's, then, you know, you're going to be able to fight right through this wind. As we see one of the other coaches along with Mish for the Equinox team here, this is probably Nolan Benoit or Kyle Weatherhog. Nice shot there. I just want to give a shout out to Ella Hansen on the remote cam, getting close on the sideline there. I do like that shot. It's kind of cool. You kind of get to be a part of the action on the field there.
Vermont about to pull.
Do you have varsity here in Minnesota? Like, there's not that many. You know, Seattle we talk about, they have varsity. For this, Callie Ma was telling me that she could have gotten. She has a letter jacket.
Oh, amazing!
And could have gotten the Frisbee, you know, insignia on there, the patch for varsity. You know, she also played basketball, and you know, it's of course Ultimate Players were too cool for varsity patches, but and Vermont now, the state that we know of, also varsity statewide. I think Seattle is just in the school districts in the Seattle area. What is it like varsity status in Minnesota? And
just a bit of miscommunication between siblings. Yeah, so the Minnesota youth scene is pretty big. We are currently supporting somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 teams at our high school state tournament. And I'm not quite as, it's a lot. I'm not quite as dialed in as I used to be, but I think you have to, in Minnesota, apply for varsity status kind of school by school.
Okay.
So there are programs in the Twin Cities and in the wider metro area that have kind of applied and sought varsity status, and there are other teams that have not. Number 21, May Browning, working in space. Everything looked really good and in flow, but a little too quickly on that last little shuffle pass to Keon, I believe.
You know what happened there, Aaron?
No, that's Bador, my bad.
She had to switch her hand grip, right? She kind of caught it with her left, and then by the time she was able to bring it over to her right, she wanted to hit Bador in flow, or Keon in flow. There's a big hop from Monin going up to his sister. This connection is made.
Rebecca will find number 25, Ella Enders, for that upwind. I hope it's not confusing at home to say these last names together when they're on the point at the same time, but that's a Monin to Monin kind of situation there, a sibling connection after what we just saw, which was the sibling miscommunication.
Right.
Good recovery. Oh,
there
no.
I love that look. You were going that way.
That's got to be an interesting dynamic, especially when your father is the coach or one of the coaches, right? I was never able to play sports with my brother, and I would still love to do that. He's adequate at Ultimate, I think, and I think we could. Adequate. He just hasn't spent very much time doing it. But I would love to play a tournament with him.
Aaron's brother, if you want to tweet at us.
No, Jordan doesn't tweet.
Okay, how old is he?
My brother's 4 years younger than me.
Okay. So he's 24.
Thanks. Appreciate you. No, he's played a bit of league in Boulder. He's played some of these beach tournaments in Los Angeles a few times, but wasn't really interested in being on a team that practiced. He played a lot of high school and college sports and got a little burnt out. So I just need to convince him to come to either a beach tournament or one of the kind of not sanctioned fun tournaments with me, and then I'll get to live out my dream where I throw giant hugs to my very tall brother.
That's Coach Mish walking off there, talking to her team. There's the Pi Plus sideline with our sideline cam. And I really like the design, actually. You know, like sometimes the busy sublimated shirt can get a little, for lack of a better word, ugly, in my opinion. And these shirts are not that. They actually look pretty cool, and I really like it.
Yeah, I think sometimes, too, though, and I guess I don't know what their alternate jersey is, it can be confusing if this is your white jersey, especially in peripheral
They're pretty white.
They are. Theirs for the most part. If your opposing team has a solid jersey in one of these kind of bright colors, I can see how it might be confusing.
Shenholm picked that one up, and this one's going to go from Elms deep. There's defenders there, and it's D'd up by Tao. Sorry, Wu.
Yeah. Dutil going in there, too, just fearless. trying to help out her teammate any way she can. Attended target there was Mason Palmer, 6'3" there, so good upwind target.
And Dutil picks up the disc.
Schuster back to Wu, Wu to Dutil.
Every other for Dutil here. Let's see if she throws and goes again.
That's Monin, Rebecca. Out to 39, Linda Muse.
And a timeout. So they want this break. So Pi Plus up 5-4 here. This is the downwind break opportunity. You kind of forget a little bit. We've had so many straight upwind holds. So a quick timeout call from Pi Plus. They'll talk about it. You see Coach Luke Monin get in there and giving them some ideas of what they want to look for on this downwinder, which is, as you talked about earlier, Aaron, not so easy sometimes.
Yeah, depending on kind of the pace of the wind and the angle that you receive the disc, right? The disc can behave as a sail, and if too much wind gets behind it, it's going to go. It's going to go really fast into that downwind end zone. I've seen adult teams struggle in wind conditions like that as well. So it takes a little bit of discipline, a little bit of kind of intentional thinking about where the front edge of the disc is when you release it. To make some of these downwind throws really successful. There's also usually in wind conditions one side of the field where the throws are easier and one side that it's harder. And I do think right now that far side of the field, close to where the teams are lined up and where the flags are flying, that righty flick over there I think is actually much more difficult maybe right now than a backhand would be on my side of the field, closer to me. But we won't know until a big swing goes off and these youths give it a try. I also haven't thrown today, so we'll see how it goes. Coming out of this timeout, we've got Mike Schuster, number 9, with the disc. Looks like Pi is setting up in a vertical stack with 3 handlers back. And Wu is occupying that front of the stack. A lot of teams run an isolation set that looks kind of like this, where the isolated cutter does line up on the front of the stack. So wouldn't be surprised at all if Wu is immediately involved in the play here. As a reminder to those of you tuning in from home, this is a semifinal into the 5th place final. Both of these teams are coming off of a full day of pool play in the YCC portion of this much broader event. So they started playing pool play on Saturday. They moved into bracket play on Sunday. And of course today is where we find out where everyone finishes. And I'm really glad that we play out most of these placement games. That hasn't always been the case at YCCs. Dutil and Wu working back and forth, and Dutil puts on the burners. Oh, what a great bid, but that upline throw from Wu, that's the danger of this downwind end zone, right? Just coming in maybe a little bit too hot. It would have been an amazing catch if Dutil had been able to get there, but what a great bid from that 15-year-old. Did you see Dutil lay out?
No, but I want to recruit her to Notre Dame. If she's Catholic at all, or if you're not Catholic, I have a great opportunity for you for a school in the University of Notre Dame.
Another commercial
like to welcome
for
you
Notre
to
Dame Ultimate.
Notre Dame Ultimate. You do not have to be Catholic to go to Notre Dame, but it doesn't hurt.
That's funny. Vermont working through this zone, and that disc will bounce. And number 8, Rebecca Taylor, able to sky and get that D. Great read there.
She's going to be a hilltopper going to Western Kentucky.
Wu hotly pursued by Elms. That'll be a good matchup to watch for the rest of the game. Wu and Schuster and Dutil back through Schuster. Oh, that little IO just behind Rebecca Monin. A little bit of back and forth here. maybe a little bit of impatience from both teams, trying to go a little bit too fast for the wind conditions and the competition level. These are close matchups.
We saw Rowan McDonald inspired throw from Wu there as he flipped it up with the forehand to the break side.
It's a nice put out to the side for Valentine, and she tries to get Elms.
Sandwiched. 3 defenders get in there and affect that opportunity. Dutil is down.
Not sure if we'll have an opportunity to see that one again.
Elms goes up, surrounded by 3 female defenders and number 39 as well. So 2 defenders there plus Joseph Lindemuth. He can't get up with it as Dutil gets kind of hit a little bit by her own player. She will stay in the game as we're back up and it's a turn.
Yeah, no call in that situation. Well handled. Overall, I think it was just unfortunate, but not impacting contact. These flick shots on that far sideline, Tony, just all of them are coming in with a lot of juice.
Yeah.
I think maybe if these coaches have a moment, right? I think the old Manisha Dariani coaching strategy, of course Slap was with us in the booth, the idea that you should invest more in that swing and attack to the break side, I think here might be very beneficial, just because I do have this theory that will go untested until the kids do it, but I think a wide swing up to this high side and a backhand over here might be an easier throw.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you because it won't get pushed and shot down into the turf like we're seeing on that sideline. And now I think Ella's going to go into the huddle, and we might be able to listen into this timeout here as our camera woman, Ella Hansen, of course, one of the better players, if not one of the best players in college. Although I think she might have just graduated. She's playing with Schwa this weekend, right?
She is. She was here with Schwa this weekend, and they went 4-2 on the weekend, and they only lost to international teams. They lost to Revolution by 2. They feel really good about the weekend.
I would too.
And you know, Ella's nickname, in her Callahan video,
like, stop talking about
was one throw Ella, but clearly she has many.
The way we do that is by just taking a little breath. Okay, right now, we're gonna set up help because they might set that zone again. Are you on? No, you're on the disc. Okay. My handlers, make sure that we're not like spreading the field too wide when the disc is on the sideline. Okay, because sometimes we kind of in the center. Yes, I would like you in the center and on
So you saw Equinox coach there explaining what he's looking out for in terms of this defensive point here from Equinox. Love to get an inside look at that there. And good. Aaron, when you go into a huddle like that, you know, you talked the other day about on a universe point as a coach having to maintain a calm demeanor and a calm face when you're anything but. So what's it like going in there as a coach to your huddle, you know, at this point in the game right here on an important point?
Well, these teams have, you know, grown and developed over the course of the weekend, right? We did talk about that too. Tournament reps are the most important reps. And so this to me just feels like a bit of X's and O's more than anything. Treating it more like a technical timeout. Nothing's wrong, right now for Vermont per se. They have been handling this zone quite well, but you know, every chance you have as a coach to maybe fine-tune or refine things. We saw him directing traffic and deciding who is going to be in the middle, right, and who is going to be cutting from downfield. So, you know, calmness by a coach, I think to a lot of youth players, they go how you go to a certain amount, and so especially on an offensive timeout, right, you don't need to have any urgency or fire, because all you want your players to do is throw and catch the way you know that they know how, and the calmer you are, the more trust you show in them, and I think that's what's important in a timeout like that one.
Well, and here's the opportunity. So far, so good for Equinox as they work upwind. Elms with the disc. Shenholm through the middle. Valentine. Sorry, Corbett Valade.
Vlad.
Valade. They're more French accents in the Vermont area, being that they're from Montpellier.
This stoppage may be a pick, perhaps.
Wow, what a block.
Oh, Vlad thought about calling a foul and decided against it.
Yeah, it was a clean piece there from Lindemuth. And unfortunate for Equinox. Now Pi will work downwind. Let's see if they avoid that corner as they come out in a hoe stack.
Wu back behind the disc again. He's been kind of playing both as a receiver and a thrower. And that's Rebecca Monin. Back to Wu.
I kind of want to know where Wu is going to college. He's pretty talented out there.
Yeah, he's very good. He is 18, so we'll probably see more from him soon, I would assume.
Yeah, he's just really focused, kind of dialed in there. Haven't seen him make a lot of mistakes. He's got the upwind throws, you know, gets up high, can do a little bit of everything. This is kind of the fun thing playing, you know, when you're with a smaller group, you're in high school, you're in middle school, you get to play all the time. You know, when you get to a club team, and you get to play all the roles. When you're in a club team, sometimes you get designated, all right, you're the handler stopper on defense, you know. You're a hooker, but you're never going to play D. You know, these types of things. We're going to only use you in selective situations, you know, situational playing. But at this age, at this time, you're doing everything, and that is really what you love out of Ultimate. It's so fun to be out there.
Wu back with the disc, really operating as a general for his team. Out to Schuster. Back to Wu.
There's that little
high release flick break.
Yeah, a little Rowan McDonald inspired, I like to call it, but there it is again. A pie. I think that's a pizza pie throw.
Good motion here. Back to Monin. Really close to the end zone line right here. Looking for. Oh, and that pass to number 39, Lindemuth. Again, just kind of bounced out. Continuing our theory that those flicks on that, we're curious how many of these players maybe overlapped with club teams. We got a couple people who tweeted at us yesterday and were able to realize that there are some of these young people already playing in adult leagues and on club teams. And certainly, even though we do ask where some of these players attend college, their future in Ultimate does not necessarily hinge on their access to college or their interest in it. I know there's more and more Ultimate opportunities that aren't affiliated with a university or college. So we may see Wu pop up on a club team this fall yet, you know, maybe instead of a college. And that's totally okay and valid, and we hope that we see a lot of these players continue to play in whatever manner is accessible to them. But certainly, you know, playing on college is not a necessary step anymore in the club path or even in a world's path.
Well, let's take that one step further and say, you know what? It's better to get a great education and do good schooling and concentrate on something maybe good for the world and not play Ultimate. That's okay too.
Or there's also trade school or right to work or kind of any other thing. We just want these kids to be happy and fulfilled. And if they have an opportunity to play Ultimate as well, more the better.
And happy and fulfilled is what Pi Plus is right now with that downwind break. A bit of a long, lengthy point there, a timeout in between. Both teams trying to work it as you see the bid from Joshua Wu go down and get it. And this score, and there's that little Pi pass.
I think we're going to see
Pi
Wu
pass,
show up in our post-game highlight package a few times. We'll also see Dutil a few times in that package, I bet. Wu saving the possession. Oh, I didn't see that until that replay. Shenholm got a piece of that. Yeah. So that was a defensive play, not necessarily a mistake, but nice work here by the women of Pi to throw that point. Rebecca Monin to number 8, Rebecca Taylor.
Remember, it's Pi Plus. And I believe so Pi is the homeschool team?
Yes.
And then they added players that are not just in that homeschool team.
Right, but they had already ordered the jerseys.
I think there's a plus on there, right?
Sure, hopefully. I'm not seeing it right now, but certainly I'm glad they found more players.
Well, we know Paideia has a team called Pi as well, because they're Paideia. So I just don't want Paideia to get angry at us or angry at this Lexington-Cincinnati combo team here for stealing their name.
There are plenty of other kind of
Pi-related
names. I think when we name Ultimate teams, especially for youth at the YCC tournament, you try to find something that's like regionally significant or meaningful to you, or something that references kind of the makeup of your team and where you come from. And the more and more teams there are, the more likely that there will be some overlap or some similarity.
No, unacceptable.
I know that in the club division there are some team names that are singular, and then there's another club team out there with like the plural of the same word. So there's just a lot. It's great that there's a lot of Ultimate, but we will probably see a little bit of overlap in the name soon. Vermont going downwind against this Pi zone, and Mae Browning involved.
This is a 4-woman wall. So 2 men on the mark and then 4 women in the wall, and now they will crumble to person defense.
Scopitone able to get underneath that disc and work back through Browning, who's been a key piece of this
call here.
Handler line. Pick is called. Bador able to catch that to make sure that's not a turnover. The disc will go back to Scopitone on the continuation rule. Or no, not even, just because that player was picked.
Is she wearing Kiko socks? She got the mismatched socks. I like that style. There they are right there. Huh, those are awesome. Got a Dalmatian on one side. If it's not Elisa Picathley Kiko sock, I'm not sure. But
I don't know how you can see that. Your eyesight must be amazing, Tony.
I wear glasses. That's all I got.
Browning's throw is defended by number 21. That's Philip Smith.
Nice bait by Smith. Looked open.
Oh, but that errant throw. Good play there by Bador to get in there safely. Couple of stoppages here.
Just a pick there as Scopitone kind of sprung out to try to get that disc in the back. I love that Bador went down and got that. Like, she didn't have to catch that pass, but she could, and she did. And if she didn't, Pi Plus would have picked that one up. So Bador really heads up there as she not only got in the lane in the right space, but also made sure to keep possession of that disc when it came to her.
So this disc will go back to, I think that's number 82, Declan Kervick. Yes. Some of these shorts have the number on them but they're very horizontal and slightly behind. So sometimes both of the displayed numbers are on the back of the person. So sometimes it's kind of hard to see. This is Shenholm working with Scopitone. Good defense here by Pi, producing a lot of pressure in these lanes, but Browning, steadfast. Oh, her defender slipped and she tried to stop and help her up. What good spirit.
Scopitone able to reel that one in. So, Aaron, we speculated that working to this high side might be easier opportunities, and it has not been the case, however, as the defense has been there quick.
Right. I think the theory is still that the backhand throw will be easier, but the defense just stifling from Pi Plus right now. But that will be another downwind point for Vermont. And the receiver on that is number 54, Seth Fisher Alvera.
Yeah, they worked it over. So that's a great example of switching the field direction as you see Scopitone get down and get it. As this Browning bid here will be D'd up by Smith, I believe. And there's Bador. See, if she didn't get that, Philip Smith was going to get that.
Yeah, so great way to get in there. also appreciate that she kind of recognized that contact was perhaps coming. There's a move in basketball where you try to put someone kind of on your back because you know you can take that contact more safely. And I saw her do that a little bit, kind of show her back to where the contact was coming from and dip her head forward. And luckily there wasn't a lot of contact at all, right? But a good heads up kind of self-preservation and athletic awareness there from her. So we're in a 1-point game here in this 5th place semifinal matchup. These teams will go on to play in placement games over the course of the day. There is a 10:45 a.m. round that we will be covering for you. Of course, contingent, or no, that's a semifinal of the final, right? The next round, 10:45?
10:45 is coming up is Rising Tide, the Portland Maine-based team, the 14 seed. They have had a pretty dominant showing so far. Talked to their coaches last night. They will be facing a team we saw earlier on their live stream, DC Rogue, who were in the finals the last 2 years, lost 20 girls division.
Yeah, we hope you'll join us for that coverage as well, because we'll be back and they'll be coming to this field. Good games all around today. I mean, that's the nature of Championship Monday. I love it. It gets better and better every year.
It's Riptide. I'm sorry. Riptide, not Rising Tide. There are all those. There's Neap Tide.
There are many tides.
Rising Tide, Red Tide, and Riptide. And there's even another one. So that's at least 4 of. They all go with the tide names out of Portland.
Here we've got Monin picking up out of that out of bounds pull. And if you see the flag on the other side, the wind has all but died.
Yeah, wow.
But Monin has Dutil in isolated space, covered by Browning.
No contact there. Just Dutil was trying to stop, and she lost her footing when trying to stop and read that disc. He goes down, and the Vermont player immediately just stops and says, come over and take a help here. As you can see, watch Dutil try to stop because she knows the disc is a little bit behind her as Brown goes, oh,
she
stepped
got
on her foot.
Stepped on, there you go.
Yeah. Just an accident there. Hope she's okay as she limps off a little bit here. What is the, coach, what's the call here? Like it's a just accident, I mean, like, is this a defense by Browning or does it go back or what?
Yeah. Well, I think the first helpful thing for people at home to remember is that coaches can't intervene on the field. So
she's calling this. Browning called this on herself. She said, "I stepped on her foot. I'm giving you the disc."
Right. So the two important things are, one, if you feel like you could have made a play on the disc and the defender made it so that you didn't have a play on the disc, then you can make a foul call there. But the second important part is, I know you were like, Coach, weigh in. It's like against all of my habits to try and tell you what I think happened because I'm so used to.
I guess I was asking what the rule is.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, Observer Twitter can confirm, but I believe, yeah, and Monin ends up with the disc on that break high side with the backhand that we thought would be easier, and maybe that's proof that it is. But good spirit on Mae Browning for recognizing that stepping on of Dutil, and we hope she recovers quickly here on the sideline, did inhibit Dutil's ability to try to go up for that play. And I think that's the correct usage of the rule. And certainly Dutil could have called it, but good on Mae Browning for calling it on herself. That's not something we see a lot.
And right away. Like, there was no hesitation there. Like, she knew she stepped on her foot. Browning was going to get that disc regardless if she stepped on her foot or not. But she put the disc down and said, it's your disc. Are you okay? Pretty much right away. So Browning really heads up. She knows the rules better than we do, which I also love that. She's over there talking to the Pi Plus players to make sure Dutil is okay. Future coach right there in Mae Browning.
That's one of the most fulfilling things that happens. It's always, so as a coach, it's always lovely to see your players go on and continue playing with like the love of the game. But for me, one of the most rewarding things is when players that I have coached have decided that coaching is worthwhile and kind of coming back and either participating in the same program or going off into the world to coach others. You know, both are rewarding, but to me, knowing that their experience with a coach was positive enough that they wanted to be on the other end of it is something that I really value, and I love seeing those players out there in the world doing good things. So what's interesting about this right now, because Pi is in that gender end zone, is with Detil on the sideline, they are, I think for the first time, going to have 4 men on the field and just the 3 women. So they're switching this ratio a bit. Detil clearly one of the star players on this team, and we're going to see her for several more years on this YCC team, or
15,
any
20
kind of
maybe.
Any variation thereof. Yeah, a lot of these players from the Pi team, you know, we were told that the bulk of this team is homeschooling, and we know that all the siblings are part of that homeschool contingent, but we don't really have the information on the remainder of the roster. So I'm not sure if Detil is also going to be, wow, that's a great pull.
Did you hear the sidelines?
No, what did the sidelines
say? The
Pi
Plus sidelines does this on the pool. Ooh. So they're, as the pool is in the air, they're calling out, woo, which of course is Joshua's last name.
Oh, there you go. Oh, okay.
Beautiful pull.
I was like, I don't see the significance. There was another team yesterday that were doing a similar noise on the sideline, but it was the same tone as the horn, right? So we thought that the round horn had blown. Goodness. Just, at least they're not the, there was a trend for a while that people were bringing the vuvuzelas out.
Oh, I remember that. I like that.
It was very, very loud, and I just remember not even being able to like talk to my players in a huddle and being frustrated, but maybe it's just me.
So this is a stall. Scopatoni does not dispute it, and Joshua Wu will pick up the disc.
And immediately call a timeout. How many timeouts per half are each team allowed?
You're the coach. I'm just the commentator. Well, I guess you're also a commentator. There, another look at Josh. We're going to hope to get him at halftime, Aaron. I'm going to try to run down and talk to Josh and see about Detil, see how she is and her foot. But I believe that's their second timeout, as Aaron will look in the rules right now.
Each team does have 2 timeouts per half in this tournament. It's not a universal thing, right? Depending on the round times and how many points these games are being played to, and the tournament format itself, kind of tournament directors are in charge of figuring out how many timeouts the teams are allowed to have. But this is the most timeouts that maybe any of the teams at this tournament this weekend have taken in certainly any of our live stream coverage. Although we did experience heat advisory timeouts yesterday, and I saw a couple comments when I got home and kind of scrolled through the comments that there were some questions about what a heat timeout even is. And so just, you know, out of clarity. Oh, they're playing a fun
Have you
game.
played this Team Roshan before?
I have played it.
I love this. Like Slow White, a mixed team, Club Nationals, like they get to like the semis, and this is like at national championships, and they take a break. They call a timeout, and they get their entire team out there to Team Roshan like this. And so, you know, you have to, so you're Roshan against the people to the left and right.
Yeah.
Okay, right? So you have to lose both to be out.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, you know, rock, paper, scissors, and if you lose both on both your hands, then you're out. You can also play different versions where you lose one hand and you keep the one hand out. But it's pretty fun. But both teams knew exactly what to do in there, as Pi Plus and Equinox are equally matched in the battle of Team Rochambeau in the center of the field there during the timeout. It's a lot.
It's a good cultural item for Ultimate. There are a lot of
games. You think there's no, you know, connection between Kentucky and Vermont, perhaps, in your kind of general, you know, association of our states? And here in Ultimate, they're all the same. They all know Rosham.
Yeah, there are a lot of variations of Rosham. So a few things here. I know during the YCC part of the tournament, we get a lot of families tuning in from various areas. So shout out to you if you are extended family of any of the folks on the field right now. Just a quick note that coming out of a timeout, offense is allowed to set first. So we did see a delay between when the defense went out there. Wu finding Rebecca Monin, of course, and that is to take half. Though the wind has died, we would have considered that the upwind end zone. But Tony is going to head down, and we're going to try to have a conversation with Josh Wu to see how he feels about the first half. while we get Tony set up down there. We're going to see a couple other moments from this half, and then, you know, I'll just touch back real quick about the heat advisory rules that we were under for the most part of the weekend. Essentially, if the heat index reaches 100 for the safety of all the players exerting themselves through these games, there are some efforts to make sure that they are able to get in the shade and recover for a moment. So that's really all the heat advisory timeouts were designed to do. They're just mandated breaks throughout the game to make sure that players are drinking water and eating some food. Most of these athletes are playing Ultimate for 6 hours a day, right? So everybody needs a break. So we'll go down to the field with Tony and Joshua Wu.
I'm here with Josh Wu. Josh, halftime report. So first we want to know, are you a senior right now?
I just graduated.
Okay, so where are you going to college?
I'm actually not going to college next year.
Okay. And what are you going to do instead?
I'm just going to work. I'm starting a plumbing job.
Okay, cool. Are you going to play Ultimates? The next question.
Yes, Club Ultimate in Lexington I'm going to keep doing.
Is that Black Lung?
Right now I'm playing on Moonshine. So next year I'll decide either Moonshine or Black Lung.
Okay, cool. How long have you been playing Ultimate? You've got some pretty cool throws out there.
I've been playing for about like 8 years probably. My dad got me into it. He's been playing like his whole life.
Uh-huh. And what do you call that high release flick throw? Is that like a Rowan McDonald type throw, or is it a pie throw? What do you call that throw?
I first saw my brother throwing it, and I just copied him until I got it really good. Just a high flick.
Yeah, works pretty well. Well, thank you, Josh. We'll look forward to you guys in the second half. What's your thoughts on the second half here? You guys have a 3-point lead now. What's the team focus on for the second half?
I'm just hoping we can play chilly, clean O. Just look for no turns and intensity.
Cool. Thank you so much, Josh. Back up to you, Aaron, and great job out there.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tony, for being our intrepid reporter down on the sideline for a minute. Really lovely to have an opportunity to connect with these kids. Really fun to hear that Wu is second generation Ultimate, which is something that is happening more and more in this youth division as parents who played competitive Ultimate procreate and are able to introduce their children at a very young age. I've seen, 4-year-olds with a flick that can go 10 yards, and that's amazing. So pretty fun to hear the kind of family connection from Wu. Great to hear. So we're at halftime, and Pi Plus from Lexington, Kentucky is leading Vermont Equinox 8-5. We're going to go ahead and take a short break here, but we'll see you back for second half action in just a few minutes. Thanks so much.
This monitor is like completely new to me, so that wouldn't create, the only thing that would hurt you would be this. So like the monitor shouldn't affect it unless it actually went out.
Pleased to welcome you back to the second half coverage of this mixed U-20 fifth place semifinal matchup against the Vermont Equinox team and the Lexington, Kentucky Pi Plus team. I'm Erin Maraca. Tony Leonardo hanging out with you all weekend. It's been great so far. And we are underway in the second half with Pi Plus receiving.
Great pull.
It was a great pull. The wind direction seems to have changed a little bit, and the sun is coming out a bit more, so some stuff already. Wu cannot find Rebecca Monin, and a quick break opportunity for Vermont within 20 yards of the end zone right now. Number 82, Declan Kervick, to pick up.
Yeah, quick change of events already. We got the wind direction, we have the sun, and then we have a fast turnover here. Break opportunity for Equinox.
And right away to Browning. And that is a very quick break to bring it within 2.
So because of the different wind conditions there, that kind of affected that play and that throw. And that is the chance right there for Equinox. They're going to need a couple more in this game. You know, and you look at this Pi Plus team and you're like, well, it's a pretty good team here. How do they lose? They were seeded, they won their pool. So they went 4-0 day one. They go into a quarters matchup and they face against the Indiana Incognito team from Indianapolis and that area. And they basically told us that they were out-hustled and out-hucked. That was one of the moms on the sideline said. So, and one of their coaches confirmed that, yeah, they basically, you know, 1 or 2 passes, they'd put it up, and they had just the big male receivers that would come down with it. And that's how they lost their quarterfinal game, because 2 pretty good teams we're looking at here in Pi Plus and Equinox.
Pi Plus employing the kind of trust, holding hands or maybe pinkies ritual over here to indicate that their offensive line trusts each other. Something that we see, I think Revolution may have been the first team to do that kind of thing, to kind of physically indicate trust on the field together. Certainly a powerful statement, something you like to see mirrored in that youth division. Wu will catch the pull and center to Monin, one of the Monins.
You keep saying that. Just
Well,
say Monin.
Okay. There's Monin.
Monin to Monin.
To Monin.
Oh, nice.
To Enders.
Wow, what a return. That's the way to answer back.
That was Enders to Enders.
Not quite yet, though. Let's see. And it's going to be a goal. It looks like Luke Monin raising his hand. No, there's going to be a call here, a violation. Let's see, as they are sort of trying to see if her feet are in. They did repaint the blue lines.
They are a little bit fresher and more obvious this morning. I'm not sure with the new sunlight how obvious they are to viewers on the screen.
If I'm Pi and there's a dispute here, I just simply take this back here. I mean, there's been great spirit we've seen from Equinox. It'd be nice to see that return from Pi, not have a long discussion or argument here and just say, all right, we'll take it at the goal line. And that is what they do here.
We did just see Browning in great defensive positioning, just unfortunately not able to get a hand on that D. Enders finds Wu again, and that is just a usual normal hold from Pi Plus.
And, you know, just again, back to what I was saying, which is like, you know, let's not make this a long discussion. You know, we don't have an observer on this field. You know, just walk it back to the line and let's see what we get out of this, you know. And Wu says, I'll go get it. And the throw from Enders is there, and there's a hold. And you know what? If it's a turn, that's okay too, you know. That's just part of the game here. Let's just make it happen fast. We don't have a lot of, let's not get into crazy long discussions. We've been through that in our history as a sport when we didn't have, in which case it was pretty fun. But, you know, the sport's grown out of just having a base of, you know, hecklers on the sideline.
Agree. We are, speaking of sideline, starting to get the next 2 teams seem to be rolling up and getting ready. So certainly will add to a bit of the ambiance, if possible, for him to have already played for 8 years. But that's incredible, an incredible amount of experience and poise for such a young person.
And it shows. And, you know, no surprise that he plays for a club team.
No, not at all. That throw from standard to Keon a little too far. And good to see Lula back on the field for Pi Plus Dutil. Oh, but a miscue of their own right back. So standard will pick up. Elms is unmarked here. That's dangerous.
When I was on the sideline, Dutil told me that she just had a bit of a bone bruise there, and she'd be back for the second half. And great to see her out there.
Shenholm and Elms. There seems to be a poach on somewhere because Shenholm is unguarded, and I can't really figure out why. So he uses it, recognizes that he is unguarded, goes straight to the end zone, and Elms hits him in stride.
You know, he's got great field sense. He's got great throws. I think Carleton's going to like having him. You know, obviously, the competition is going to be pretty steep there. So, you know, who's to say whether Shenholm will, you know, make that cut roster or GOP or Hot Carls. And, you know, I was looking through some of the rosters earlier today and last night, Aaron, and I saw, I want to say about 10 players going to Boulder, Mama Bird on the men's side. And I think you get similar numbers when you're talking about Carleton. So we're reaching that point in the sport, and maybe we've already been there, and it's just relatively new to me, where you're getting a lot of incoming freshmen that have played, and not just played Ultimate, but have played Ultimate at this level, YCC, which is pretty much the highest level you can get other than your state championships, which might compare, or maybe like your, you know, in case of Seattle, your regional tournament.
Right. It is good to see. So, you know, Carleton is an interesting situation because they compete both in a D1 capacity and a D3 capacity, both on the WinX and the men's side. But I think at Carleton, what you choose for team is kind of more culturally significant for you. Like, you pick what's best for you and what works for you. And there are very talented players who do decide not to play cut at all. And they don't even try out for that side of it. So I know it seems like a tiered system, but I don't think it is, and I don't think a lot of people realize that outside of the state of Minnesota. But the other cool thing is that we're going to start to see more B teams develop. I think getting a B team at a college is one of these milestone events for a program. It allows you to put some people in kind of development roles and get a lot of touches in a way that you might not be able to offer them, especially if you have a really competitive tournament schedule. So that's a really exciting kind of movement going on. And a lot of it can be credited to the competition and the number of teams at this YCC event. So great to see that too. Oh,
wow.
I think that's one of the Enders sisters downfield, left alone, unguarded. She's able to find Monin again. Not sure how they kind of squeaked free there, but a good recognition by Monin to find Enders in this open space. A little bit maybe of communication needed by the Vermont defense about how she ended up there all alone.
You know, I think Luke Monin just used that vector coming at him to power it back the other direction. Clearly, Equinox didn't account for the deep look there, assuming or hoping or maybe that the mark would be there and not expecting Luke to put it over the top of the zone cup that he had not yet gotten into position. So, and I was going to say that, you know, this is an opportunity for Equinox that, you know, they're kind of running out of time. We saw 23 minutes left till hard cap. That means a couple of minutes left to soft cap. So we may hear the horn soon, which will add 2 to the score. There's Josh Wu. And Pi with this 3-goal lead here is looking pretty tough to stop at this point. You got to get a break. Well, you got to get a hold here first, and then you got to get a couple breaks. So behind the 8 ball now is Vermont.
Vermont in a position where they need to kind of quickly and efficiently hold here and then try to put something together on defense. It is one thing entirely to try to come back from a 3 or 4 point deficit, and another to add in the kind of deadline, the playing against the clock situation. It adds a little bit more pressure, and unfortunately, you know, playing that kind of hurry up defense can be really challenging as well. So first step, of course, in any comeback is a clean hold. We'll see some familiar faces on this Vermont O-line, starting with Shenholm, who will field the pull and center to Elms, who unfortunately drops that and is giving Pi Plus a 2-foot field here to score. And Dutil will pick up, which I really like. I love that Pi Plus is having her pick up almost all the time. This is an errant pass, but that's Monin again, number 2, getting a lot of goals for her team this year, despite not being the target there. Good heads-up play, good aggressive Sky.
I think when you're 5'9", you're kind of always almost a target. There's a lot of tall girls on this team, but that does not hurt. And Elms with a hat throw down a little bit after this. Frustrating for Equinox. This could be the end of their season here. Well, they will play another game. They'll drop into the 7th place bracket and see if they can come home with an odd number at the end of their thing, because that's kind of what you want, right? You don't want to end on an even, which means you know, the 8th place, which means you lost. You want to win your final game, so that's something to look forward to from Equinox.
So the horn has blown for this round, and I know
to play this point and add 2.
Well, so yes, so they'll play this point first.
Yep.
So technically in Ultimate, as soon as a point concludes, the next one begins. So it doesn't, the point doesn't start with the pull. It starts kind of immediately. So we will play this point and then add 2 to whatever the score is. So the game will either be to 13 or it will be to 14, or sorry, it will be to 13. No, I'm right. It'll be 13 or 14, depending on whether Pi Plus is the scoring team or not. Having a defensive line out.
So 19 minutes to hard cap. It's a little confusing. You know, I was talking last night to Dave Trope, Claire's father, and he was asking me about the clock. And he's like, I'm so confused by this clock that we see because it counts down to the hard cap. It doesn't tell us when the soft cap is at 20 minutes and what that means, which is add 2. He's like, the whiff diff rules are a little bit different, a little more cleaner, because once we get to hard cap, then it's add 1, I believe, and then it's over. But the rules of ending hard on an offensive score are over? Is that correct? Or just for semis and finals? Do you know that answer? Trivia of the day for Aaron only.
Competition rules. So hard caps will not be used for semifinals or any of the finals for YCC unless determined necessary prior to the game by organizers due to scheduling constraints.
Does this count as a semi?
Oh, I guess it's a semifinal for 5th place. I think that it does.
I don't know.
But I don't actually know.
I would think it wouldn't, but. Well, we're probably not going to get there. This is all kind of a moot point because it's an 11-7 game right now. Equinox with the disc. Shenholm looking around.
Right.
They'd have to score a lot of points in a small amount of time.
They would. Just to loop back, though, so because I have it in front of me and it's relevant right now, Elms with a shot to toe the back line.
Close.
I think he is in. They're behaving as if he's in.
Wow, nice play by
Yeah,
Elms.
that was an efficient, clean hold. The score is now 11-9. Okay, we'll clarify the score in a second. Someone down on the field altered that scoreboard, so I just want to make sure.
Yeah, right. That's
but that was the first step, a quick, clean hold. But because we're talking about cap rules anyway, and it's good to know, right, the soft time cap goes on 20 minutes before the hard cap, and you add 2 points to the higher score after the first score after the horn blows.
So this is a game to 13.
Yep, and then the game ends when the first team reaches whatever the new game total is, and they have to be ahead by at least 2 points, which brings us the hard time cap clarification, which is that it goes on at the end of the round time on the schedule, but the game is over at the end of the point in progress unless tied.
Okay.
If tied, then you play one more
more
point. So you don't add 1 at the end there. Of course, caps don't affect timeouts, so a lot of timeouts left on either side if they so choose, and overtime would only occur if it's tied 1 point less than the original game total. So also a thing that we will not encounter in this game. Competition rules, of course, usually published in a program guide for a tournament, are different in tournament to tournament based on the schedule and the format. So this is really only applicable to this situation right now today, but good to know that you can look for that information or usually find it at headquarters of any tournament that you attend, especially for parents at home, right? There's usually a tent that is headquarters. Headquarters has all the information and all the schedules. And if you're not quite sure where to find your kid to go watch them play when you arrive at the fields, HQ is definitely the place to go. The headquarters here in Blaine, Minnesota are a series of giant tents. I think there are 8 giant white wedding tents. And there's a lot of information and merch, and the schedules are printed large. It's a great user-friendly format up there.
So game to 13, as you see there, as Shenholm will pull. Equinox just needs to hold, Pi Plus needs to hold a couple times here. And now our score is corrected to 11-9 as well.
Looks like Vermont is in a person defense, but there's a little bit of sagging in lanes or a flat-ish mark, maybe to defend against a huck look. This is an Enders. Looking for Monin.
Like that Pi Plus isn't just going for the home run here. And
oh,
although
that's a good defense by Maya Standard. And Vermont with a little bit of a chance here. Shenholm to Kervik. Kervik getting a little bit stuck on a high stall, but that's Browning. Ever present. Very talented player. Very spirited player as well.
Yeah, trying to get her offense settled in here and find the rhythm up to Shenholm. He'll look for Browning.
It was a really nice around break by Browning to Standard. And that's a break for Vermont. Browning to Valentine. And that brings us within 1 point. That's exactly what Equinox needed to do here.
Yeah, and the enthusiasm gap is pretty big here. You know, Pi Plus, a natural sort of just down point to some degree there as you're patiently trying to work it. You're taught patience. You know, let's just handle this disc in here. Let's just make some throws and catches, right? You hear that a lot. But Equinox has another thing in mind here as Maya Standard gets the run through Black Valentine, gets the score on the other end here. That's a break late in this game, and now they've got a little momentum on their side. They come down with a pretty fiery defensive point here, and they told us, of course, Michelle Steele earlier, that they love to go person defense, and when you're enthused like this towards the end of the game, that's a great situation to be in, and maybe they'll get another one of those.
Love this shot by Ella Hansen, doing a great job with the remote cam right now. Good opportunity to shout out all of the crew members here with Fulcrum Media. Tony and I have been really impressed. Well, Tony, you even did some camera time yesterday. I've been really impressed.
Aaron, you're next.
I'm next. That scares me. That's a lot of responsibility to get like an iconic shot. All of these are iconic shots. I love it.
The cameras do all the work, really.
Regardless, we really appreciate these human beings who are standing in really hot conditions.
You could use robots. We don't really need humans out there.
I feel like you do. It's like a recipe.
Ian is nodding at me right now. He knows.
You can feel the love coming through the camera from the human being on the other side of it.
We need humans.
We do need humans. Anyway, great camera work, y'all. I really appreciate what you're doing. Can't wait to see all the packages and replays.
Monin just saved that right there. That could have been critical turnover.
Here's Wu. He really wanted to fire that shot deep to Schuster, but he holsters.
Again, defense from Equinox is tight. They had Wu under here, and they could not find him.
This is Monin to Schuster. Out to Philip Smith. Wu.
Uh-oh, hung it a little bit.
Monin reads it correctly, comes down with it. And she'll find Schuster in the end zone. Bidding player from Vermont at the tail end of that point. Seems to be okay, just put a lot of effort into
that's Mason
last
Palmer
little
again.
bit.
You know, battling that stomach bug he has. Goes down again. a little bit tired there. Really putting it all out there on this point there. It was really all about Luke Monin saving that initiation throw. Came in really hot. He had to make a pretty big layout dive. As you see Mason Palmer there giving all he can to try to get to that. Schuster gets to it first. And that's a critical hold for Pi, as they are now 1 goal away from taking this this semifinal matchup in the 5th place bracket.
I feel like right now, if I were on either side of the disc here, certainly on the Vermont side, I would be trying to go just a little bit faster in the moments where I could control, right? Trying to signal readiness, trying to move quickly, regardless of whether you get to kind of dictate when the pull goes off. Being ready and being impatient can sometimes speed up the action of the other team. Certainly line calling can be very quick. I know that we've determined the end point, right? But hard cap's still out there in the future if need be, and you know they have to score 4 points if they want to win this game, and that's not a lot of time to do that right now. Here's another woo pull.
And there's the sideline again. Woo!
Shenholm to Helm. Shenholm. Good tactic defensive decision here by Pi Plus. What they've done is slowed down the Vermont offense, certainly until that very high hammer went off. And that interception is by Rebecca Taylor.
A moonshot hammer before that from Shenholm. Hung up there. Looked like there's no chance that was going to make it to the target without a defender getting there, but it was on target. And then the missed throw into the poach there, or sorry, not even a poach, just the defender Taylor. And now Pi Plus with a chance to win this game.
Schuster looking for 39, Lindemuth, and he finds number 8, Rebecca Taylor, who just got that D on the far end zone. So that's bookends and game for Taylor.
Nice job, Pi Plus. They wrap it up here. They close out in emphatic fashion. Just when it looked like the momentum was swinging over to Equinox, it's stolen back from this Lexington-Cincinnati combo team here. As you see Taylor get the D, and then Taylor gets rewarded with this pass coming up here from Lindemuth. Finds her in the end zone. Great game from her, and really both teams had some great, excellent play out there all around as we see the handshake line. And I think I'm going to go down and try to talk to Dutil.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea.
Time for that.
Maybe Dutil and Browning.
Oh, you want to do it?
No.
You're closer to walking that way.
All right, I'll go down.
All right. Erin's going to go down. The mic is right there. Let's find out where she's going to college. No, she's 15. Sorry. We have a lot of fun. You know, commentators don't always have to be, stiff, and we try to bring some lightheartedness and fun to the broadcast. So hope you do enjoy that, and we apologize if you do not. But sports are meant to be competitive. They're about winning and losing. They're about the storylines, and it's also about having fun. So just keep that in mind. We have a lot of problems in the world, and sports are a place of refuge that we don't need to often, hopefully, face those problems. In fact, it's a great place to work out some of those problems, because the competitive nature of sport forces us to kind of discuss disputes and differences among us and resolve them in a way that's amenable to everyone. So as we take a look at these two teams now, again, Pi will move on to the 5th place game. Love to take a look at see who they might be playing. And then, of course, coming up, we will have, you might see them in the distance there. I believe that might be DC Rogue warming up in the far distance. We'll get over to Erin down. She's going to try to talk to Lucy Dutil with Ella Hansen. I'm going to count her down, and we're going to get ready. Okay, I'm going to count her down. 3, 2, 1. Let's go, Erin.
Thanks, Tony. I'm down here on the field with standout players from both of these teams. We've got Lula Dutil, I'm saying that right? Yes. And May Browning. You both had a really nice game. Lula, tell us a little bit more about how you got started and ultimately maybe how long you've been playing.
I've been playing for about 2.5 years. I got started, my brother started playing. We're homeschooled, so we can't participate in a lot of public school sports. So he started playing, and then I hated it. I ran cross country, and I was like, that's stupid. I don't want to play that. And my dad convinced me to play it in the off season to stay in shape. And then I fell in love, gave up cross country as a sport, and then did ultimate full time, and I've loved it ever since.
Amazing. Certainly a difference probably with May's career. You've been playing varsity ultimate in Vermont this year. How's that been going?
It's been great. I love playing ultimate. Yeah, I started a very long time ago, so yeah, I love it.
That's great. Certainly a tough game, both matchups. Both of you made some stellar plays. Going into the rest of your day, Lula, what can we expect to see from your team in the 5th place final?
I think we can win 5th place. I'm really excited, and I don't know, I'm just really proud of this team. We've come together, a group of people, we've known each other for a long time, and I just hope that we can play the next game with spirit, and we're going for the Spirit Award in 5th place. That's our goal.
Amazing. One more question for you, May. You illustrated a lot of really high-level spirit in this game. What does spirit mean to you individually?
Spirit, I think it's just being fair, like putting aside your own like personal beliefs and like what, like if you think something happened, just like following that, but knowing that you shouldn't care like about your own like personal like vendetta or anything. Just like be honest, be truthful, yeah, and just have fun.
Well, both of you played amazing. I hope to see you back here next year and in the future. Thanks so much, Tony. Back to you.
Thank you, Aaron and May Browning and Lula Dutiel, for some awesome play out there from both sides, Pi Plus and Equinox, and great interview there. So just to wrap things up here, we're going to see a little bit of a highlight package. Pi Plus moves on. They will either play the Happy Cows or Minnesota Superior in their next game, as we watch the highlights here from field 13. Coming up next for you, make sure to stay tuned here. It's going to be Rising Tide, the 14 seed, undefeated so far, facing off against another undefeated team in DC Rogue in the girls under 20 semifinals. Coming up next.